Scrubbers, how are you all doing? You alright? Welcome to the second instalment of Mondo Murder Party. Welcome to the house. Apologies for last week's disruption. There were external circumstances. Now what I'm going to try and do before I get started is just see if I can pop open a window so I can see it up and running. Maybe. Da-da-da. Right, so there's me looking quite strange in the freeze frame. If you comment on there, I should be able to see it, but I've also set things up so you can direct message me. That way I can respond to things should it be apparent. However, before tonight's proceedings do proceed, I've put my advertising out. I'll give us a shout if anyone's watching, right? Because it does help if, you know, there's something I know of going on. Also, for all the comic lads who are here tonight, I appreciate you being here because I know Lorne is having a sale and he's got some good stuff on. So have two windows open. It makes no difference to me. Like I can talk in the background. Really not a lot interesting. Well, I say that, right? When I did the test video earlier on, I'd noticed my hair was getting a bit puffy at the sides. So you might notice the impromptu haircut, right? Because if you've got wavy hair like I do, what it tends to try and do is grow out. Like it'll poof out, so you get like bits going out like that, and then eventually it'll form wings that you can like balance pencils on and stuff. I hate that. I don't know why it really gets on my night. Hello, Math. You're right, mate. So my tip, right, as a man who hasn't paid for a haircut this century, is grade 7 on your clippers. That way you don't have that like horrible it's too thin, or you get the bulky bit where like it's going. Do you put it in between your glasses or not, or what, or whatever? So don't do like grade 7, and now I don't have the poofy bit. So yeah, and the other thing was I put up a Sandman Jam poster. Hang on, let me see if I can turn this a bit. Oh, except it's mirrored, so if I move my head, no, because I need to move that way. Right. Next to the Zenith. No, that's Minara, isn't it? I literally can't do my left and my right. Right, there you go. There you go. Right. That it is humongous. Right, it's about 3 foot tall, I think. I am not the world's biggest Sandman fan. To be honest, I do think it's basically gets a bit too much recognition for being a fairly ordinary story. But it did have some lovely artists on it, so yeah, like just from looking from there is a smorgasbord of artists actually. So I got this off Toby. Thank you, Toby. I can't remember if he even charged me for it. He should have done, because it's really good. That anyway, that's probably one of the best things to do with Sandman. It's a nice little jam piece. So yeah, and also I just thought the bit of wall looked a bit dead, and I don't like dead space in my videos. I don't like that little like white out bit. In fact, I'm going to try and bring it down a bit, see if I can frame it so it looks all nice and comic-y. There we go. My controller batteries are low. Well, I'm not using the Xbox now, am I? I was watching a bit of Spike Milligan on the build-up just for like, I like the mood Spike puts me in, just ludicrous, rambunctious and all that. So tonight's show will be a bit of an experiment because... Hello Zach, thank you dear. I got a bit, because I like to watch things back and see like what can I do differently and improve it each time. I don't really like watching the reading bits. Like it's a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Hello Belle, you're right darling. It gets a bit tedious for me to watch. And it might be that other people enjoy it, but I'm the one making it, so sorry. There will be a slight read towards the end, inspired by Miss Rachel Lillywhite over on the Instagram, but I'll tell you what that is at the end of the thing, so you've got more motivation to watch, haven't you? That makes a bit more sense. I'm sneaky like that. Hello, now what? Lorne's posted in Lorne's comics page. Well, imagine my surprise. That's the most frequent thing ever seen on my phone. Lorne has posted in Lorne's comics page. Right, yes, so tonight's sponsor is, breaks up the spangly hat. Please cheer the spangly hat. By the way, I think this is great. I found it in my local Longest on the build up to Christmas and thought it should be a thing that gets a bit more recognition because it's a good hat on the whole. I mean, it just cheers up them. Apparently there is an option to make it light up, but because I am essentially a dappy blonde, I can't work out how to switch it on. I'm sure one day it will be achieved, right? And on that day, that might be a separate video where I go, hey, you're not going to believe this one, guys. I've switched on a hat. However, tonight's sponsor is blah, 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 Phoenix Spider, the cosplayer, and the light's glimmering beautifully off the camera of that. Actually, that's worked out quite well for the sake of keeping us fairly family friendly. So Phoenix Spider is a friend of mine from the cosplay circuit, and she does all kinds of prints and merchandise and stuff, and I ordered myself one of her calendars at Christmas because I thought it'd be quite good, really. So yes, if you have problems knowing what their day is and you quite like ladies in spandex, I recommend the Phoenix Spider calendar, available from her, I presume. So I won't do spoilers, but January, you got her doing herself up as an angel. Oh yeah, right. So if you want to contact her, it is Phoenix_Spider on the Instagram, or just look up Phoenix Spider on here on the Facebook. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for the hurrah for the spangly hat. That's a thing that should become a catchphrase, I think. Then after January, you got languidly knocking about in a bath. Possibly as poison ivy. I can't see because my right eye's not that great, and I probably shouldn't have looked at this first. But I like to think it's that ramshackle incompetence and charm that brings you coming into the number of people who are watching, which I can't see. Oh, five whole viewers. Thank you for 5 people. And then in March, I'll tell you what I'll do is look at it first, and I'll actually be able to construct some kind of description rather than just hoping. That would work better, wouldn't it? True professional. We've got okay, I quite like this one. This is standing about looking quite glamorous as some kind of, I presume it's a poison ivy themed thing, but she also has a bit of the Jessica Rabbit thing going on there. Jessica Rabbit's been a bit of a running theme in my life lately. So that is the end of the Phoenix Spider calendar advertisement. Phoenix_Spider on Instagram, or I imagine if you just look up Phoenix Spider cosplayer on Google or the search engine of your choice, that will take you to her. She's a fairly distinctive looking lady. Right, so ends the advertising bit, and for another week we say goodnight to the spangly hat. So tonight's main thing is I'm not a big Marvel fan, right? The Marvel Cinematic Universe, whatever it's called, but there's a Scarlett Johansson movie coming out. I was like, oh, well, I mean, I quite like Scarlett Johansson. I'm a regular human being. I think most people would. She's in this Black Widow movie that's been delayed for ages and ages and ages, and things have happened. And last week, according to both Deadline and Tech Radar, apparently you can watch Black Widow on its release date via Disney Plus if you pay about 20 quid on top of your Disney Plus subscription thing. I have been told that this is an option in quite vehement capital letters, and it is an option, right? It is an option that you do not have to partake in. You could just wait, you could just have a wait, and then come the future, once it's out of the I don't know what the phrase would be, the premium area, right? You'd be able to watch it as part of the Disney Plus library. And I imagine, right, that's a fair way of looking at it, but it doesn't really allow for how human nature works, and this is why, right? And this is our little brief history lesson in 6 comics. So, in 1992, Image happened. The 7 artists who would later form Image went into the offices of Marvel and said, we are leaving to form our own collective. And then went across the road to DC's and said that to them. I don't know why they thought DC would care, but they did it anyway. So they hook up with a company called Malibu, and Malibu Malibu is an interesting little country. Malibu is a country? No, it's a company. It's a comic publishing company. It was born out of some controversy, and one of the things expressed by your man Gary Groff over at the Comics Journal was, if you're going to invoke Jack Kirby's name in your advertising and why your mission statement is to do this, then you might want to look into the history of Malibu and why the Will Eisner Awards are called the Will Eisner Awards. I think those are the things I could probably safely say without getting a lawsuit, because it ain't worth getting a lawsuit. But it's worth looking that stuff up. But in any event, Rob Liefeld, I believe, is the first man who gets out of the box and gets Image over to Malibu Comics, who were previously just like, they were there, but they were like, if you have a top 10 publishers of the early 90s, they would be like number 8 or number 9. They existed, but they didn't do anything special. But then they get the golden goose of Image happen to them, right? And Image explodes all over the place, and they're like doing sales figures that were only previously done by like mainstream comics, you know. I think it like the pre-orders for things like Youngblood and Spawn are ludicrous. They're ludicrous for the 90s, you know what I mean? Like, even in the context of comics selling loads and loads and loads to the speculators, even then the numbers are like, really? Are you going to sell that many copies? Like, to readers, or just going to speculators? But that is a separate thing. Anyway, I think it would be fair to say the original printing of Youngblood 1 was a state. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think if people got a chance to read it first, it might not have been the thing that it was, but then you could argue all those copies were being sold to speculators. So it doesn't matter, it could have been stick figures and finger paintings. However, and the first step in our story of 6 comics is Youngblood 1. And you all know about Youngblood 1 if you've read comics, and you're like, well, yeah, okay, I know what Youngblood 1 looks like, but what I found, thanks to the aforementioned Lawn, was a special printing. Oh fuck, I've got the light shining on it. Okay, right, special printing of Youngblood 1, and the reason it's special is it's an Image first, but it's been rewritten and reconfigured. And the reason I say that is the original Youngblood 1, if I remember rightly, is a flip book. So side A was the home team, and you got 8 or 9 pages of that, and then you flipped it over and you got the away team, and you got 8 or 9 pages of that. It was a bit crap. But this edition, I'm not a Youngblood aficionado, so I don't know enough about it. I believe comprises the first 3 home strips, as in issues 1, 2 and 3, the home sides all make it into this book, and it has been recoloured. And it's been rewritten by your man Joe Casey. Joe, most notably famous for doing, I say famous, like, he's quite good. Yeah, I think he's very good. He's a very, very good comic writer. Automatic Kafka was my favourite of his, which was a book he did with, I think, Ashley Wood for Wildstorm. It was cracking stuff. So, I don't know how prevalent this particular funny book is, but you can see, yeah, like, somehow even the colouring being redone makes it, like, look a bit less rubbish. And having Joe Casey, who seems to have perhaps listened to some humans in his life, like, oh, okay, like, the dialogue makes it better than it was, but then you run into this double page spread and like, anatomy, who is she? I've never heard of her. But yeah, so this is like, it's worth tracking down. Don't pay over the odds for it, but if you see it, it's an interesting experiment. It's one of those things where you go like, yeah, are there other comics that were previously rubbish, that subjectively, that were previously rubbish, that could be saved by having someone with a bit more writing skill who had written some comics previously doing it. So you get Youngblood 1, and you get Spawn, and you get blah 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 called Cyberforce and Max, and well, Max is a later book, but you get this whole plethora of Image books coming out and not coming out, which was one of the big problems that people had with them at the time. There's a lot of solicitations. So about a year in, I think, Image decided they don't need Malibu. Like, why are they handing over publishing money to Malibu when they could do it themselves? How hard can that be? Well, it turns out in retrospect very, very hard, and things went quite wrong for a while, but that's where Image stopped being involved with our story. So Malibu are now a big deal and have a load of money because of this whole malarkey. So what they do is they go, well, look, why not capitalise on this, right? So they gather together some of the greatest and the best, and they come up with something called the Ultraverse, which is designed to be a shared universe. Right? So Ultraverse, it's well, they've got some really good names on there. Like they had Norm Breyfogle, and they had Steve Gerber, and they had, oh god, I can't remember who else now. Mike Plug, I think, wouldn't swear to it. I think he drew Sludge, which was essentially not Man-Thing, for Steve Gerber, and you had Terry Dodson on Mantra, like really, really young Terry Dodson, and I'm really intrigued by Mantra, because I haven't seen anyone mention this. It doesn't strike me as a thing that would be contentious, but I feel it's worth mentioning. Right, Mantra is a book about a bloke who dies through circumstances, because match, and he wakes up in a woman's body, right? And he's, for want of a better phrase, he's stuck there, and he's doing this whole comic, all of his adventures in what he considers to be the wrong body, and he gets this entire insight into the life of a woman, because Mantra is quite a healthy woman, and she's drawn by Terry Dodson, so even early Terry Dodson, like, you knew where the boys' priorities lay, for want of a better phrase, right? So he's got this awkward thing where he's running into his old mates, and his mates are like, and he's like, I'm up here, I'm still me, and they're like, no, but like, is it possible? And I don't know, I'm not educated enough about this, but I feel like it's worth bringing up, and more educated people can kind of run with the idea and say, no, you're being an idiot, or say, oh, actually, yeah, there is something there. Is Mantra like the first, or one of the first, like, transgender comics? And I don't know what the answer is, right? I'm not leading this towards and this is my conclusion. It just, when I go back and reread it, I'm like, but this is clearly, like, somebody who feels incredibly trapped in the body that they feel they don't belong in, which, and again, educate me if I'm wrong, that does seem to be the beginning of why someone begins the process of becoming transgender, because they feel like they're in the wrong body, so they transition to a body that is more suited to what they feel on the inside. Again, shout at me if I'm wrong, because I never would say I know exactly what this would feel like or what the rights and wrongs are, but it does seem like that would be the thing. So this is Mantra number 1. I picked up one of these for Carl Andrew, who's a regular fan of everything I seem to be doing, like Mondo Funny Books and Coleman's catalogue comic clear out. Managed to get it right this time. So yeah, I've got a bunch of these. This seems to be some kind of, I don't know, promo thing for retailers, or possibly a con exclusive, but it comes shrink wrapped with a coupon. Right, so this was a thing at the time that Image started off, which would be that you would, like, get a comic and it would have a little coupon on it, and you can see, blah blah blah, you can see this coupon here. Now I believe, without reading a comic on camera, because I don't think that'd be very interesting, that you would collect a number of coupons from various comics, and you would send them to the publisher, and they would send you a doohickey or a thing. Like the Image one was, like, you collected 7 coupons, and you got something called Image Zero, which I don't remember if I've seen or not. I know it was reprinted, but I can't remember if I've ever seen the original Image Zero. But I think it was like sketches and short stories that weren't going to be reprinted anybody else, or blah 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 blah. So yes, this is Mantra, and that's. I think it's worth putting into the collective conversation about the history of transgender characters. But again, shut me up if I'm wrong. I don't know, but I feel like it's a thing worth bringing up. Right, so just going to pause there to see what you lot have said. Oh, also the other thing, right? I thought, I don't know how many of these I'm going to do, but I do know I have a lot of really fucking good t-shirts, so I wanted to document them. So this one is the Sex Pistols one, which got people arrested and caused all kinds of trouble. So I really like this, and the first time I wore it on Facebook, someone unfriended me. Like, after 10 years of them being a customer, they're like, he was a very Bosnian man. I don't think he was on the side of the general homosexual activity, so to see me fairly, mouthy, going, have you seen these lads? They're not wearing any trousers. He went like, no, that's it, no, had enough of you. So yeah, I will try, because I have got about 50 t-shirts at the moment, to get on with that. Hello Kaylee, you're right missus. Nice to see you. I was playing some manga inspired games earlier actually and thought of you. So there you go. And apparently Persona 5 is coming to Xbox Game Pass. So that'll be quite good because it always seems to be really good but really expensive. Right, so we carry on. So the Ultraverse happens and it's at the time that everyone's doing shit. So Malibu have the Ultraverse and Dark Horse are doing something called Comics Greatest World, and Topps Comics are doing Kirby's Greatest World or Kirby's Big World. It should have been called Kirby's Big World. To be honest, that would have been great. I'd have bought that. I mean, I did buy it. I bought several copies of all of them because I'm an idiot. But also, if a comic says it's polybagged with a trading card of Bill Clinton by Steve Ditko, that's like a... Really? I don't know what combination of things happen in the editorial process to say, let's do that, but they did it. So I've got like 5 copies, just in case. I don't know what the in case is, what kind of apocalypse would take out, society, and we'd be we would have to barter with aliens for Steve Ditko trading cards based on presidents. But in that possibility, I'm gonna be your man, right? Anyway, so everyone is going... There's mad speculating money, right? Let's just do universes. We'll have 9 or 10 characters per universe, and we'll put out a book each. And then the speculator boom crashes, and everyone gets the hell out, right? It's like I don't know what the readership drop was, but it was that plus a lot of books that were being hyper solicited weren't shipping, and a lot of books that were going to be obviously huge on a Death of Superman 75 level weren't. Things like Adventures of Superman 500 was going to be the big thing, 'cause it was meant to be the return of Superman, and that book, man, I don't think I ever worked a week in comics without seeing a copy of that comic, because it was so prevalent, it was so badly over-ordered. You just see it all the time. Anyway, so all these universes start crashing, but the effect of Image on the marketplace was, previously you had a fairly well-defined, pie, right? There was a pie that made up the comics industry, so Marvel Comics usually had the majority of it, and then there was DC quite close behind, and then there was everyone else. And then Image came along and it just kind of kicked over that structure, and there were times where, DC weren't number 2. Because they just weren't. They didn't have the sales figures. And everything starts getting a bit desperate in that period. And everyone's kind of trying to find a way to retain the readership. So, Marvel are quite shaken. Because they went with the whole, the incredibly awkward public statement, our readers care more about the characters than the creators. Nope. No. And they just tried going well, we don't have Jim Lee anymore, but we'll get these teenagers to draw a bit like Jim Lee or Tom McFarlane, and that didn't work. Really just fell on its ass. And the Ultraverse is just trundling along throughout all this. and Dark Horse kind of shut down the Comics Greatest World thing, and Topps kind of like just go like, we're not very good at doing superhero comics, and we've got Dracula, and we've got Mars Attacks, and we've got Jurassic Park, and we've got Zorro, we've got Frankenstein, and we've got Jason versus Leatherface, and we've got the Friday the 13th comic. We don't really need the lesser end of Jack Kirby's great imagination, and really like that line seemed to be basically, here are some sketches of some characters, and if you get some other people to flesh them out, that will be cool. But it wasn't great, and it's not the best way for Kirby to finish. Oh, okay, I should check in on the comments. Right, okay. Well, a good way of doing it, this thing, is because like I can be more interactive, right? Because I don't want this to be just me chatting, because I would like to kind of see what you could find people are saying. Oh, wow, okay. Hello, ladies. That was not a thing I was expecting. Let's see what we got. The best bit of... You used to have a butcher's hat like that. Huh? Alright, BP. The product placement is the best bit so far. Yeah, Phoenix is just really nice. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's this weird relationship we've had where I'm usually on a table and she will just go, oh, Nev's there. And that's quite a nice place to hang out. Because I'm trying not to think of how to put this without making other con goers going, nah, but yeah. It's not always the most fun experience if you're a healthy lady at convention wearing spandex. Mr. Fantastic Biology book. Ally Rebecca. Can we have a look at my outfit? Blah, blah, blah. Well, there's not a lot to it, Kaylee. Like, I'm not going to say I'm not wearing trousers. I'm not saying I am. I'll leave you with that. I have the bowie earring on, and yeah, I have a Pistols t-shirt. I am wearing quite warm socks, because it's weird. It's nice and warm, but I have really badly cold feet today. I don't know what that's about. Right, now, where were we? Okay, the Ultraverse. So, what happens is... Now, there's a story here, and it has been proven by people who work here that the cover story was the cover story. So we'll go with the official version, because it does actually tie into where I'm going with all this. There is a point to this, by the way, right? I know it sounds remarkable, but I do actually have a through line that I am following, sort of. So, out of what appears to be nowhere, at the tail end of 1994, Marvel buy Malibu. Just buy them. Like, they don't... There's a line called Bravura, which was like Malibu just going, you're a really good comic creator. Would you like to create your own content, and we will distribute it and you can own it, and it'll be really cool. Basically, like Image, but not quite so nasty to people who aren't the Image 7, because there's a whole thing where like Image were really bad for putting out things on time. Like, they were horrific, and they reached out to various comic creators and said, look, do you want to do a book for us? But we need you to be regular. We need those books to be representing the line all time. So if Brigade #2 is a year late, we'll have 5 issues of Wildstar or 7 issues of Shaman's Tears to cover that, because we need stuff out there. Things went wrong in that regard, and those second wave books, except for the Max, all just got canned, right? And it was, the contention was, you've got 5 books that you've solicited that you haven't put out, but these guys are a bit late, but you've canned them, so it ain't, like, it's not an equal playing field, I guess was the point. And you know, you'd probably want more issues of Wildstar out there than you would Bloodstrike or Freak Force, or anyway, going off on one. So yeah, Marvel don't get the Bravura stuff because that's creator owned, so it's like, okay, we published Strike Back, but we don't own it, so off we go. Like, that goes with whatever Kevin Maguire wants to do it. not that Kevin Maguire, a comic artist called Kevin Maguire. Strike Back was great. Like, it was this dude with this really cool stuff. Anyway. So Marvel now have Malibu, and everyone's like, oh, okay, good. What are you gonna do with that? The answer was not a lot. Like, they ended up with the Ultraverse, but if you go to that bit where the Ultraverse becomes integrated with the Marvel universe, like, it was pretty clear they had no idea what they were going to do with it. There was not a plan. It was just like a what if the Avengers? And what if Prime became Spider Prime? Will this do? No, it wouldn't do. And the whole thing was like cancelled outright by 1995. And it is something inherent with the way the contract was signed that apparently if you use an Ultraverse character in anything, the person who created the character gets a payment of it. So Marvel don't just get them outright, right? So they can't just go, we're doing Prime with Brandon Graham and George Perez, because there's more to it than that. And I think quite a few of the people who were involved with the original Ultraverse creation have passed away, so that all becomes a bit like, well, what do we do? So the public reason given for the purchase of the Ultraverse, of Malibu, sorry, is they wanted their computer system and their comics colouring system, because Marvel have always been quite nickel and dime with their production, so their stuff, like when Image stuff started happening, their comics were printed on, and it seems like a ridiculous thing to say, but they were printed on really nice paper, and like that paper really allowed for the what's the word I'm looking for? The advances in colouring to be shown off, right? So it didn't look like it was being printed on newsprint, and didn't look like it was rubbish. Malibu Comics and Image Comics basically raised the bar, and everyone had to say, like, you're gonna have to upgrade. So I don't know how well this is gonna work, because I don't know how good the resolution in this is. Like, the reason I'm probably looking at the bottom left of your screen is because what I'm talking into the small thing here. Like, I can't see the whole screen of what I'm talking to. I'm just seeing it right down here in the corner. So it might work. It might just be my camera's really crap and you won't be able to pick up on it. So this is a acquisition of Malibu Marvel comic. I've picked a particular favourite, the Fred Hembuck issue of Spectacular Spider-Man. You'll notice Fred has a very distinctive and non-traditional Marvel style. Like, he's a really good documentarian. Like, he has been covering the history of comics for a few decades now, but he's got this very idiosyncratic style. So yeah, that's quite a good thing. Like, it seems, oh hang on, that's a fucking advert, which doesn't benefit anything, and it's a glossy advert, which in fact undermines my point, because that's glossy paper. Blah blah blah. There you go. Like, this is clearly not written for Fred Hembuck, right? Because, like, the layout is so traditionally Marvel, and Fred's added his own little cartoony style. I don't know if cartoony is the right word, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is like, the paper is, like, the colouring's freaking awful by modern standards, and I don't mean the craft of the colouring's really bad, I just mean the reproduction of the colour, like, looks terrible. And then, like, once the Malibu acquisition happens, they're all like, well, now we can use this gorgeous colouring system on this glossy paper, and great, so all the stuff will look great. Like, so this is I think this is turn of the century, if not a bit after, turn of the 20th to the 21st century. But yeah, this is the shameless Shanna the She-Devil, which I'm surprised Phoenix hasn't dressed up as yet, because it's kind of her type. But anyway, oh man, this is going to get the comics. Okay, so first double page I open up, Nazis. Second page, big naked lady. So give me a sec and I'll try and get us not all into trouble. More big naked lady. Frank, this is by Frank Cho. I imagine none of, if you know who Frank Cho is, the descriptions I'm giving you, probably not surprising. Adverts. There we go, that's fairly safe. But yeah, again, like, the upgrade in the paper quality, it's like, it's really shiny and it's really nice. And there's the cover. Oh, hang on, left to right, not right to left, Coleman. So yeah, So that's the benefit of all this, is they've got this really glossy paper, and the problem is, to do that, right, they're going to have to whack the price up. And it's a bit controversial, because comics have been, believe it or not, it didn't used to have the ludicrous rate of inflation that it does now. Like, comics were not a thing that went up in price. I think they were up to like $1.25 in 1994, and now they're like $6 for roughly the same package, which is a lot, I think. And it's partly this paper upgrade process. So this is how I get back to Black Widow, because this is the nasty trick that Marvel did, right? So what they decided was, you can choose, you have the option. So you can have glossy, shiny, nice edition, which, you know, same package, different paper, gonna be a bit more expensive. Or you can have regular newsstand, same content, same price it was before. Now that seems like a no-win deal, right? Because it's a no-brainer. You're like, well, okay, I just want the content, because I'm not a mint queen or anything. I just want to read the thing because it's basically a soap opera. So can I do that? Can I have the cheap one? No, you can't, because the shtick that they did was, yeah, they did a newsprint paper and they did glossy paper, but they released the glossy paper version 2 weeks before the newsprint one. Right? I don't know if you know of the impulse control of your average comic fan enjoying episodic fiction, but waiting 2 weeks when you could buy the thing now? No, that didn't happen. And I'm as guilty as anyone of this, actually, because I was a big X-Men nerd at the time. So like, yeah, it was just like, okay, we have the new issue of X-Men, and you can have the glossy one now. We can have the newsprint one in 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, but I gotta know what this Onslaught thing is. I gotta know why Juggernaut's been punched across a county and like lands in a cinema. Where what the hell is this? Like, comics were really good at that point of doing this ongoing soap opera, and especially if you have things like Spider-Man or Superman or the X-Men, where stuff just ran into each other. So you'd have Superman, Adventures of Superman, Man of Steel, the other one, was it Man of Tomorrow? Action, Adventure, Superman. Yeah, Action, Adventure, Superman, and Superman, Man of Steel. Okay, so you had 4 Superman books, and even though there were 4 different titles, it was a soap opera. Like, every week was a chapter running on from the previous one. It wasn't separate stories. And eventually Spider-Man would do the same thing, and the X-Men had so many books. So you had this like Uncanny X-Men one fortnight, and X-Men the next fortnight, and it might branch off into X-Factor or X-Force or X-Men. The point I'm getting at, excuse me, is this whole plethora of stuff. They just went like, we can now charge 50 cents more for the glossy one, and I don't think, like, I wouldn't swear to it, because I did try looking this up. It's really hard to find information on it. I don't think the experiment lasted very long. I don't think it even got to 3 months, and they said there's no point in these stand editions. It's just like, they want the thing now, which is where I'm going with Black Widow. I have been told by people far more educated on this kind of thing than me that what has happened with Black Widow is it's a happenstance, right? It's outside. It was a. What has happened to not make it viewable in the cinema is just like, it's a result of COVID, it's a result of pandemics, a result of cinemas not being open. Excuse me. So they have this standalone film which acts as a prequel. So I think it would be nice, right, to think we have this happenstance situation, and we have this thing called Black Widow, and look, pay 20 quid and you can watch it on Disney Plus. Saves you money for all the family going to the cinema, saves you on popcorn, right? But it doesn't seem like it would be a good idea to give comics the benefit of the doubt in this situation. This accident of this Black Widow thing, which apparently is not part of the greatest soap opera, it's not going to follow WandaVision, it's not going to follow Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think that's a team. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because I don't know. I liked WandaVision because it wasn't a traditional Marvel thing at first, and then when it started being a Marvel traditional thing, it was like a great glowing stuff, exposition, flying people. Yay! Haven't seen that a billion times over the last 40 years. They got lucky with this Black Widow thing, but it does seem like if you had any brain whatsoever and you were working for Marvel, what you could say is, well look, if they're willing to pay 20 quid or $30 to watch this thing early, right, what if we structured other things like in that format? So off on a hypothetical, there's let's say there's a TV show based on, I'm trying to think of any Marvel thing right now, but okay, so we have a thing, an X-Men TV show, and it's like, it's set in the 1960s, and it's the formation of the Xavier School and how Xavier and Magneto have the big rivalry and how Kane breaks his back, right? And the events in it tie into retroactively the Marvel Universe, so you see like how it affected the Avengers and how Nick Fury ran into them, whatever. But the point I'm getting is that you now have this new episodic thing that is time sensitive, because I don't know if all of you noticed, but nobody cares about WandaVision now. They cared about it 3 weeks ago, but now it's gone. Everyone needs to watch the thing straight away. That's how they are. So if you say to them, look, we've got this X-Men series, and it will go out on a Friday, right? But if you're on Disney Plus, Super Plus, or whatever name you want to come up with, you can watch it on Wednesday. And it's only 50 cents more, or it's $1 more or something. I am betting you would suddenly have a lot of people watching this X-Men show on a Wednesday. Or you'd be, this time next year, watching WandaVision Season 2 on a Wednesday if you pay that premium to do it. And that's what I'm worried about. That yeah, it's optional, but we're not very good at waiting. Like, if you say pay more and you can watch it now, we'll pay more and we'll watch it now. It's just a theory, but it's based on experience, and I don't see Disney being the sort of company who would turn down that additional money. But we'll see. Maybe the Black Widow thing won't pay out, or maybe they'll say, well, okay, it didn't work this time, but it's a hell of a good model to use things on. So, with that in mind, having given out about Black Widow, I was trying to think of good Black Widow comics, and I'm like, I ain't a superhero guy. Like, yeah, I've got a Zenith poster, but Zenith ain't a traditional superhero. Anyway, so the thing I found was during the Marvel Knights era, like Marvel Knights, as far as I'm concerned, was the saviour of Marvel, with the exception of Avi Arad talking to Sony. Joe Quesada and Bill Gemmers came in and saved Marvel from itself, because Marvel was a state after the bankruptcy thing. Like, it had spent 5 years just being rubbish. So I'm going to pause there and see what you lot have got to say. Sir is definitely terrible gag regarding life-held bodies. Like, must walk the wee beast. Bellin, is that? It's a dog thing, isn't it? I've just realised it's a dog thing. Okay. Yes, he does have an obsession with wheat cakes, and frankly, like, that man, Frank Cho, is basically the justification for the meme, the writer and his badly disguised fetish, because, yeah, I ain't even going to talk about this here. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, that was the other thing! Okay. So, I got a really cool message this morning. I'll come back to Black Widow in a minute, right? I got a message from Lorne, and it was like, hey, did you know about this? And I'm like, what's this? And he sends me a photo. And you know what it is? One of the old customers at a shop that I don't mention anymore for reasons, picked up a comic from me. And I was like, I genuinely can't remember the transaction, because, you know how many of those I've done? Like, thousands? But it seems like, as soon as he saw it, he went, you sold him this comic, didn't you? I was like, yeah, I did. Because it was an issue of Justice League America. Hi, Sleven. It was an issue of Justice League America, and it's the infamous cover of Fire serving drinks while Booster and Beetle are drinking at the beach casino that turns out to be Cooey Cooey Cooey. And he framed it, and I was so happy. I was like, you like that comic so much that you framed it. And now, Stephen, I don't know if I got you into the Justice League or if like you knew about it already, and I was just like, hey, we've got this, because I'm pretty sure I was really bad with wall stuff, right? Because traditionally in comics, if you've got the wall space behind you, like if this was the shop, it would be things like the first episode of The Punisher, or the first appearance of Wolverine, or whatever. And I was always like, or I don't know, we could use the space to get people reading. Like, go, hey, look, what's that? Oh, that's The Abyss by Moebius. What? Yeah. Moebius, as in the Fifth Element, as in the ink Cal Moebius, he did an adaptation of The Abyss, as in the Steven Seagal movie. No way. Yes, the way. Do you want to read it? Yeah, how much is that? It's cover price, but it's on the wall. Yeah, but it's really good. I sold loads and loads of stuff that way. I'm still annoyed about that Creepshow book, but I'll let it go, Matea. Anyway, I would imagine I put up that Justice League cover because it's always made me laugh, and I was really made up to see that Stephen had framed it. So, thank you. I feel validified. It's always nice to know that like your actions have had some kind of impact on somebody's life, and it is a really good issue, so that's worth framing. So, Black Widow. So, Marvel Knights was a huge deal, and it saved Marvel. Like, joke aside, and Bill Jimmons' vision was, everything we have is unreadable. And we need to basically just kick over the table and say, let's get people who are good doing these comics, and hopefully that quality will lead to people coming in. And the first wave of Marvel Knights books. Now, everyone remembers Daredevil by Kevin Smith, or Black Panther, which was quite a big deal, or The Punisher by Garth Ennis, which features Frank punching a bear. So, good work, one of the best panels in any comic ever. So, like, people go on about gaze into the fist of dread. Frank punches a bear, and the bear's just like, what have I done? In fact, like, I've used that as my header so many times. I'm going to do it again once this video's over, because it's just one of the best. Do a print of that, like, and do it for the RSPCA. Like, in honour of Steve Dillon, here is Frank Castle punching a bear. Buy this and give money to look after bears. I just made you a lot of money, the RSPCA. You can thank me. Anyway. So, Devin Grayson was a writer for, like, Marvel and DC, did a load of stuff, and she did a Black Widow miniseries as part of the Marvel Knights thing, and nobody seems to remember it. And it's weird, because it was also drawn by J.G. Jones, who, like, did loads of good stuff. Like, Final Crisis is probably the most famous one. So, the story is, it's kind of such an obvious story that I'm surprised nobody did previously. The Russians finally notice that Natasha Romanoff has been in America for a while. Doesn't seem to be coming back. And Black Widow isn't a cool name, it's a job. Right? So, our lady who we trained to be the Black Widow seems to be out there a lot. Like, is she coming back? Doesn't seem to be. So they trained a new person to be the Black Widow, and her name is Yelena. And she's, well, she has some obsessions going on, and has a real, I need to take out the original one. So this is it. This is Black Widow, #1, Marvel Knights by J.G. Jones and Devin Grayson. And it's very, very, very good. And I'm not sure if it's been reprinted in many forms, but it is worth, like, checking out. Because, one, it's friggin' beautiful. Like, it's just really nice stuff. And also, like, Black Widow's history is really hard to track. Not in terms of the comics, but, like, she's so frequently been a guest player or a backup thing. And there's been a few series. Like, I remember there's quite a good one by Phil Noto, but on the whole, like, people just don't tend to say, hey, let's do thingy. Let's do a Natasha story. So yeah, the idea that Black Widow is a job and somebody would want it, and the Russians would say, hey, let's get a new one in because she's not coming back anytime soon. So it was one of the better things of the Marvel Knights series. So where are we for time? 49:32. So you all seem to be here. Oh, whoa, whoa, I seem to be losing you. Did I upset people with Black Widow stuff? Wow, okay. La la la. Okay, so we're going to finish on a reading. And this one's been a pain to try and track any information on. So I won't. I will simply say, at a comic mart one time, I found a comic, based on, well no, it's not based on the film, but it shares the title with one of the most famous movies to people like me ever made. And that title is Reefer Madness. It is exactly what you think it is. This also has a Jack Kirby strip reprinted in here, which I'm pretty sure isn't sanctioned. You don't see this very often, but it is a collection of writings and comic strips for people who do like that kind of thing. So, we will give this a read, and we will call it a night. Thank you all for sticking about, watching and listening to the... what's the one I'm looking for? Malarkey and shenanigans. So, I am just flicking through here, because I know there was a particularly good sequence that I thought was worth reiterating. Anyway, it's been quite fun tonight. It's felt a bit less, what's the word I'm looking for? It's felt a bit less formal. It's probably better for me to like have a chat and get my mouth going. Phrasing. The Dope Den. A powerful new novel of mystery and thrills by Fenton Robbins. I cannot help but marvel at the extraordinary symptoms your drug produces. It seems to numb the brain, and yet creating a craving for more. It robs them of the ability of knowing what it is they do want. See this poor fool. He's crazy for another dose, but if I asked him what he wanted, he couldn't tell me. That's what makes us so safe. If we release them all tomorrow, they wouldn't be able to remember anything. This one, in spite of his craving, that would make him strain against the bars, would go and sit down as obediently as a child if I ordered him to. It's extraordinary. That was from Reefer Madness. So, I hope you have enjoyed tonight's show. I will be sharing this for repeat viewing, for those of you wondering if I was wearing trousers or not. I guess you'll never know, is the answer. Thank you very much for all watching. Hopefully same bat time, same bat channel. I'll try and find another kind of anecdote to put together. That's so. Obviously, if you're not following Coleman's Comics and Clear Out, you should be, because it's very good. I think the Karmas of Incident is probably on pause for a while, he said diplomatically. Hopefully, you can get it going again, because it was a lot of fun, and it needs doing. But for all that, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, you have been watching Mondo Murder Party. You are lucky to have me. Good night.